Scientology could be called, well, you could call it a religion of religions.
How could LRH get out tech if the enemy is controlling his communication line?
Yeah, so
and the enemy tried to withhold these two books, but in the early 80s they had the problem to prove that LRH is still there. It was questioned more and more, where is LRH? Especially after this mission holder conference. People want to see LRH and want to hear that LRH confirms RTC. And RTC mocked up this Ron's journal with this teletype writer between every sentence of LRH. I think that was a fake LRH speaker. An imposter, speech imposter.
Like a voice artist or something.
Yes.
Impersonator.
So they needed more proof, and so they organized the Ron Hubbard Jr. attack. Devolved. He attacked LRH or the church and sued the church and said, I have the feeling my father is dead and I want my share of my heritage. So the church came into the position to prove the well-being of LRH. And they did it very complicated by a special ink provided by FBI and fingerprints acknowleded by FBI, instead of just creating a video as we are doing now. In the beginning 80s, it was very easy to make videos. So the usual way to prove that a person is living would be to give this person a newspaper of today, holding it to the camera and saying, I'm well, I'm free, I'm not in a prison. But to prove his existence with fingerprints, I think this proves nothing for me. But the judge accepted this and so made a final decision that well, LRH is living and okay. And so this question was solved.
Yeah, what's sort of awkward about that is because LRH could probably not want anyone to be able to see what he looks like because he's in hiding. So, he didn't want anyone to see him.
I didn't got the question.
Well, he was in hiding, so he didn't want anyone to see what he looks like. So if he made a video, then the court and
explanation, I think. It's just a weird explanation for all the unlogical outpoints. Since 1972, we don't have any photos from LRH. And before this, he made self-pictures every year together with his new camera. So perhaps you take a look at this booklet, LRH, the photographer. You have a lot of pictures of LRH and his camera. And he made these pictures himself. And I think these were not done because he thinks he is so self-important. He just made it as a dead man switch. You've heard about the dead man switch?
No. Or is it when someone dies, you replace it with a doppelganger?
No. Dead man switch is something today you use the internet software for this. And as long as I'm alive, I log into this website and say I'm still alive by the password, just I know, no one else knows it. So this web service knows, Andreas is still alive. At the moment when I don't log in, this website is going to send out letters to my friends and say, where is Andreas Groß? He's lost. Or for example, another dead man switch is built into every train for the train, what's the name? The chief of the train, the pilot of trains, they have a dead man switch, and they have to tap on the switch every minute. And if he gets a heart attack, to avoid that the train runs out of control, it stops because he didn't hit this dead man switch.
All right.
Understand this concept?
Yep.
It's a system, however you realize the system, which proves whether you are alive or not. And LRH installed two kinds of dead man switch. One is that he made a photograph of himself every year, and this the date of the photograph can be recognized by the camera he used. He bought a new camera every year, and showing this new camera in the picture. So, looking at the camera, a professional can tell you which year this is from. That's one method to prove he is alive, because he obviously knew that he would come into the situation of identity theft. That someone one day will grab his identity and pose being an LRH. And he wanted to avoid this situation. The second method was in his lectures. In every lecture he starts with the words, today's date is so-and-so. I know of not many lectures where he forgot to tell the date. But we just have until 72 we have lectures by LRH, and after this these lectures are missing.
Okay, so
visual and audio are the main perceptions. The audio are the lectures, the videos are the photos, and they end in 72.
So when do you think he actually died then? What year?
In my research, he got lost in June. The last in May and June he was researching expanded dynamics, and we have the CSS of the folders in the expanded dynamics course. And the last CS by LRH was on the 7th of June 1972. And then abruptly he was away. No more CSS in these folders. Although the cases were not completed, so another CS took over and completed these cases and the CSing for it. So I think the very exact date where he got lost is after the 7th of June 1972.
All right. So I remember I saw a photo of it could have been LRH, but it was supposed to be LRH. But it was a photo of him on the ship, I think, giving out a certificate or something. And when I saw this photo, I was just like, whoa, that's not LRH. That looks like an American man that's probably a similar height to LRH. But I just saw it. I'm just like, that doesn't look like his beingness. And it was a photo, I guess, sort of from a distance. And I just thought that doesn't really look like LRH. So that made me sort of think, yeah, that the doppelganger thing could be possible. And there's other famous people in the past who have used doppelgangers. It's quite a common thing. And then I haven't fully read it, but I've listened to the audio book of Mission Earth. And in that, there's a doppelganger. And in the Mission Earth book, there seems to be a lot of truth in it. And it's like LRH has just said, here's the truth, but it's a fiction story, but it's the truth. So
Right.
I definitely can prescribe to the doppelganger idea. So
Not only in Mission Earth, also in Battlefield Earth is a doppelganger
is there?
of the. Both books have a hero. In Mission Earth, it's Getro Heller, and in Battlefield Earth, Johnny Goodboy Taylor. And for both people, there existed doppelgangers.
Well, I don't remember the doppelganger in Battlefield Earth. What happens with that?
And Battlefield Earth, Johnny Goodboy Taylor used the doppelganger himself to cheat Terrell, the Cyclo.
Oh, okay, I think I think I remember that. Yeah. Okay. So
And then there's a third book after 72, also with a doppelganger. About a doppelganger was the main theme of the book. I Pedito. You have heard of the book I Peditro?
no.
No? It's a book published also in the 80s by British.
Oh wow, fiction book.
It's a book about, yeah, I can show it.
Ah, I Pietro. Yeah, I Pedito.
Right. And it's a book about an agent, I think CIA agent or something like this, and his doppelganger.
All right.
And in the foreword is mentioned that Ron had a doppelganger himself, which gave him the idea about this book.
Oh, really? It actually says that.
Yes. And
Oh, wow.
he once was called Pedrito. Hi, Pedrito, was someone talking to Ron, and he said, huh, what? I'm Ron Hubbard. No, I know who you are. You are this criminal, Bandito Pedrito.
All right.
And he was quite astonished.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I remember hearing that L. Ron Hubbard's butler noticed that there was 2 different shoe sizes. Have you heard about this?
Yes. I think he used a doppelganger himself in the 60s and beginning of 70s to buy himself some time, because a lot of people came to Sentinel or later to the Apollo with this marketing button, come here to the top org where LRH, where you can see and meet LRH every day. So I think he just used a doppelganger to give all these publics some respect, and as a host to these publics. so that he could concentrate on his research or CSing or whatever was important.
Wow, that makes a bit of sense because LRH does seem to have done so much, and if there was someone who could just do public meet and greets and that sort of stuff, then he could focus on working. And then that person, I guess, could tell him what happened at the meet and greet or something. So that I could see how that makes sense, yeah. So what happened?
The doppelganger was used later to post his existence, could probably be. And it is not just a weird theory of mine, it's which one can follow or not. The importance of this is that the technology, Scientology bridge, was changed since 72. And it was turned around and made a black tech today.
Mm.
And that is the importance of this question. When did the takeover start?
Yeah. Now, hold on a second. I just want to show...
It started in 72 or when it, if it was done in 82. It's a difference of 10 years. And in these 10 years, all the revisions happened. There were no revisions of any policy or bulletin before 72. All the revisions started in 72.
Oh, really? So they didn't do revisions in the 60s?
Oh, no revision in the 50s, no revisions in the 60s, not even in 70 or 71.
Now, I've got to write that down. I've got to personally investigate that myself because that's a big statement.
Yeah. I made a bulletin about this and gave the statistics on this. But you can do it yourself. You take the red volumes and write down every revision date, and you will confirm this.
Well, I think that's a really big argument to make in your case towards the 72 thing, because I mean, anyway, that's just interesting because I would have thought there would be like a PL written in 60 and then a revision in 66. So was it bulletins and PLs that all the revisions started 72 onwards?
Right. At least the revisions which are indicated as with the R and RA, RB, and so on. Perhaps Ron revised some tech earlier. For example, the Dynetics book was expressly revised in an HCOB called, I think, Dynetics Auditor Course was the name of the HCOB in 1965. And that gave all the odds of the Dynetic books, of the Dynetic book, and said, we don't see it now in this way. Of course, he corrected himself, but he didn't put out a revised Dynetics book. He just put it out in a new bulletin. He never changed an older bulletin. He wrote a new one, perhaps referred to the old one and said this replaces the old.
Okay.
For example, if you look up the bulletins about the model session in the mid-60s, there are 20 or 30 bulletins about the model session, how to start and stop a session. But they are not revisions to each other, it's just a new issue about model session. And the newest one was a valid one. But the older one were not necessarily cancelled, because in the older one still were valid information, basic information about the model session. repeated in the later ones. So you have to read them all, the 20 bulletins about the model session, to get the idea how we should do the model session.
Okay, I always thought in Scientology that the amount of revisions were a bit odd. I just thought, like, why are there just so many revisions? You know what I mean? Like, it's just, I understand, he has a new discovery and releases some new tech, and then he has to change something. But I just thought there seemed oddly too many. And when it makes sense, especially with GAT2 and GAT1, and then the changes done before that, and then the changes in the 70s. Like, it's just a lot. So anyway, I've got a picture here. I'm going to hold in front.
Yes.
Picture of LRH. Is this a doppelganger, or is this a doppelganger, or is this the real LRH?
The dark glasses, and the pictures of the doppelganger always have a hat on, because the hairline is very specific for a person. So the doppelganger always wears a hat to hide this hairline.
Okay.
So my first idea is that is not LH, but of course I cannot be sure. Today we have new technology. We have the technology of the government uses video cameras everywhere in all streets. The biometrics of the distance between the eyes and mouth line and nose and so on, they can identify persons. So it would be a nice project to use this technology and take a look at all these photos we have. And this system would sort out what is LH and what is not.
Can they recognize someone if they're wearing glasses and a hat? The technology?
With glasses, it will be quite difficult, because the distance of the eyes is very important. And with the big glasses, you can't see this distance anymore. But there are other images, for example, in the VMH, the Volunteers Minister's Handbook, there are some images of the crew, of the photography crew with LH, and I think this is the doppelganger. And also Apollo Stars is after 72, I think 74, 75. And all these photos are not available anymore in the church, because they know that with today's technology, we can recognize all the fakes. So they got rid of all the audios, lectures they faked, and got rid of all photos which could reveal the doppelganger.
In this photo that I showed you, it's got a dimple on his cheek or something, a little dent. And I noticed that is something that LRH has, or his doppelganger has. It's a little dint on his cheek. That's a little recognizing mark, which will be helpful in being able to spot, if someone's the real deal. Unless you could just get a cigarette and burn someone's cheek, and then when it grows away or whatever, it would just have a little mark there, so it would look like you've got a mark there. So maybe you could recreate that. I'm not that sure.
You can create a lot of things in a doppelganger with cherubim. medical methods. But yeah, there are a lot of approaches to investigate my theory. My main approach is the technology. I look into the technology and see that it is turned around 180 degree. Like ethics technology is used against the person. We have a black ethics conditions today. Or the Dianetics NED is a black Dianetic, which restimulates more than it erases. I made a bulletin about this to prove this fact. People who are getting NED run more hours in repair than that they confront their engrams in the sessions. So, NED method is going back earlier similar too fast, so that you cannot really, as is the engram chain, and just at best get a key out, but not an erasure of the chain.
Yeah,
I done a Dianetics that was much more successful.
I have to say I agree. From my experience with NED is that, yeah, it seems like it's a quickie version of Dianetics. And, I mean, you can just try it and see how you do it the other way, and it's more thorough, and you get in there. And with the NED, it's like, it's just been way fastened up. It's like you're in a, it's just like, I don't know, it just doesn't quite go in there, and it's, anyway. So I mean,
Right.
I'm when I go to do my NED and go clear, I'll see how I go on it, and if I notice that I'm just not getting that much from it, I'll just say, look, I want to go on expanded Dianetics. I want to do this tech before NED came out.